Do stories have to have some sort of bigger meaning to be successful or impactful? Right now, I just have a sentence or two to kind of get me through what's supposed to happen. Hi guys, and welcome back to the vlog. If you're new here, my name is Becca. I'm a writer. I was working on my debut horror novel, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. I make a lot of content regarding writing, and I'm so excited to be back vlogging again. I took a little bit of a break, and before we get into what I'm working on today, I want to share a clip and a little bit of a writing update on my project Fire and what's kind of been going on with that. So I'm going to throw it back to Becca last week, and then we'll catch up. Hi guys. So it's been a while since I picked up the vlog, and I'm vlogging on my Sony camera, so the quality might look a little different. I'm testing some things out. This is not a video that I thought I would be making, if I'm being completely honest. So as you probably guessed by the title, I am seriously reevaluating my current work in progress. And when I say that, I mean I'm not trying to beat myself up for the writing or the quality or anything like that. Really, what I'm trying to do is reevaluate that little voice in my head that's been telling me that I don't have the skill set for this kind of story yet. When I started writing this, I feel like I had bits and pieces of a story, and I very much had a message that I wanted to, I think, convey. And as I've gone through writing this, it's been such a struggle because I feel like I still don't fully know the story yet. It's such a heavy topic that I don't entirely feel qualified to speak about. As I was kind of going through these last few chapters that I was supposed to have done and finish the second draft, I was having such a hard time because I was like, I don't really know ultimately what it is that I'm trying to say. My why for writing this book does not feel very clear to me right now, and it doesn't feel like something that I'm connected to anymore. I pose to you because I would love to hear your thoughts. Do stories have to have some sort of bigger meaning to be successful or impactful? I know there's both sides of an argument, right? On the one hand, yes, stories like The Hunger Games, some of the classics have a bigger message or a bigger commentary on the world that we live in, and they're so enjoyed by so many people, and there's layers to it. And then you have things like Twilight, and I'm pretty sure Fourth Wing, and 50 Shades of Grey, where it's like, I don't think that those stories had necessarily commentary or any sort of deeper meaning to them, and they were still thoroughly enjoyed by so many people. Does that matter? And I'm trying to think of what that question means to me as a writer. And while I'm really sad about the decision that I have made to shelve this current project for the time being, I think it's giving me a little bit of a moment to reassess what kind of writer I want to be and what my work will be in the future. I know I've built an audience around writing horror. I think that's been the big thing. But I have so many varied interests when it comes to writing. I never really wanted to be pigeonholed into one genre. I don't know. I'm really starting to think that this story was not the one that I want to tell right now. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be doing writing content. If anything, I wanted to take this week to just let myself be creative again and explore different stories in different genres. I feel like this will be good for me creatively. I don't think that Project Fire is going to be on the shelf forever. I just think it needs a little bit more thought and a little bit more heart than I'm ready to give it right now, which sounds really weird, but I think I just need some time away from it. It's really, really heavy, and there's so much self-doubt and second guessing that's going on in my head as I'm writing it. And I'm at a time in my life right now where I've had a really rough year, and it feels like it's been a year that's been filled with so much sadness and disappointment and heartbreak. And I think I need to focus some of my efforts on being creative in a way that's going to lift me up and work on some stories that maybe quite aren't as heavy. I wish I could separate the two, but I am just like a deeply connected, empathetic, emotional person. The movies I watch, the media I consume, the books that I read, the things that I write, all really, really impact me. And I'm in a point in my life where I'm trying to figure out myself again. That was a really long-winded way to say I'm shelving my project for now. I'm hoping to come back to it at a different day. I want to start something new, and I want to give myself a week or so to just be creative again. And this time around, I feel like I can be so much more open about the writing experience and how I actually prepare to go into a book. I didn't really fully prepare with my last book, and I think that's contributing to some of the feelings that I'm feeling. So I really want to take my time, and I think that's what the rest of this vlog is going to be about, is how do I start a project? How do I ideate? How do I figure out a plot and everything? So I wanted to share that with you guys. Sorry this section is like really long, but I really wanted to be transparent and vulnerable and honest with you guys about writing, and sometimes this happens. So anyway, I've talked enough, and I will see you guys in whatever check-in I film next. So that brings us to today and what I'm doing today and what I've kind of been doing for the past week. And to be completely honest, I did a little bit of soul searching to figure out what project I wanted to tackle next. Obviously, I had started that gothic romance, and that was something that really was like calling to me, but it still wasn't the story that I wanted to tell right now. And I think what I need right now, not only as a creative, but as a writer, is a story that I resonate with. And so I am pivoting a little bit. I spent all weekend outlining this idea that's just been in my head for honestly like 2 years. It's a novella. I don't expect it to be more than like 35,000 words. I don't want it to be longer than that. It's something that I feel I could self-publish as well. And so I just wanted to do a project that was meaningful to me. It was a reflection of who I am right now. It's something that I could see myself still finishing within the year. And I already know that I can write that many words. So I'm working, I don't really know what the genre of it is. I call it cozy horror. The way I describe it is very much so like Kiki's Delivery Service meets The Haunting of Bly Manor. I don't know what kind of image that paints. This past weekend, I spent a lot of time at a coffee shop, and really I was there with good old Save the Cat. And even though this is going to be a much shorter project, a lot of the beats still apply. It just happens in a much more condensed nature. I spent a lot of time working on building a Notion dashboard for myself, and there was a few things that I wanted to finish before I got into drafting. I wanted to have a beat sheet for myself. I wanted to have a really solid understanding of my two main characters, which I feel like I do have both of those things now. I wanted to get an understanding of like my setting and how that plays a part of it, and I feel like I've definitely got that now. I feel like I've hit a lot of the points that I wanted, and I wanted to share. I get a lot of questions about like how do I start with a story. For this one, it was very much so a journey that I wanted to take. I wanted my main character to really go through a journey of exploration, because I feel like that's where I'm at in my life personally, and there's a lot of questions that I want to ask and a lot of questions that I want this character to ask. So I'm actually going to, I think, just finish up a couple things like beat sheet wise, and then I'm actually just going to start writing, because I feel like there's no better way to really explore a story other than just writing. And so that is what we're going to do today. We're going to start a new project. I'm going to take you guys with me. I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to actually shut up. I will give you guys some updates when I have them. Okay, so it's a little while later. It's actually like quite a bit later. It's already 1. I didn't have like the most productive writing session. I got about 250 words in. My goal is just to get 500 because this is a newer project and I'm easing my way into it. But I got about 250 words in, and then I'll put a picture here, but I ended up redoing my desk because I wanted to. Normally I love my big monitor, and I will put it back up, I think, some point in the future. It's just that I have the wrong arm for it, and it's like damaging the desk, and it's freaking me out. I just wanted to like take it off. I just spent like the last hour and a half just like rearranging things, and my husband's gonna come home and see it and just be like, again? Yes, honey. Again. I am finding myself getting really excited about this, and it's so different, and I'm trying something new with like, I think I called it cozy horror earlier, and I don't really know what that means exactly. There's definitely elements. It's this story that I'm setting in like Connecticut in the 90s in October. It's kind of like a ghost story. There's a little bit of romance. It's like a very like self-discovery focused kind of vibe, and it just feels very exciting to be working on it like as we're ramping up for fall. So I am trying to be very gentle with myself with like the amount of work that I'm putting into it. And as my friend Cody always says, even if you don't get words down on paper and it's just like working on an outline or like working on like a character sheet or like problem solving, all of that is effort that's going towards a project. So I'm trying to remind myself of that, and I'm not trying to be too hard with like deadlines or anything. I really want this project to be just like a rediscovery of what writing means to me and why I chose to write in the first place. And like, the big thing for me with writing is definitely connection and vulnerability. So I want to show you guys everything that I did to kind of start preparing to write this project. I had a much better sense of what I wanted to get done before I actually started drafting because I had the experience writing Project Fire. I kind of knew what I needed to get the story off the ground first this time around. So the first thing that I really did was work on creating the vibe. This is like part of the fun stuff. So I use Canva, I go to Pinterest, and I create the mood board for whatever project I'm working on. I try to include settings, locations, time of year, overall like feeling of the story, and of course any quotes that I think resonate with some of my main characters or just the overall story. I will share here what the mood board for this project currently looks like. I also really like to have this because when we go over to Notion, I'll show you, I like to have this on the homepage for the story to just kind of remind me of the feeling and overall sense of the story that I'm working on. So Okay, so this is the Notion page that I've put together for this project. As you can see, it's just called Project Eden for right now. And there were a few things that I was considering when I was putting together this little hub. Number one, I think it's important to note that it's not finished. This hub is meant to kind of grow and expand as you continue building your story, or as I continue to build my story. But I knew that there were a few key things that I wanted to have straight away to kind of help figure out how to keep moving through this, right? How do I put this story together? So over here, you can see that I had my list of things that I wanted to do before I started drafting. I wanted to build character sheets for my two main characters, understanding what they look like, what their wants are, what their needs are, and kind of their background. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to understand my setting. What does the town look like? Who are the characters in that town? How do they feed into this story? How do all of these people interact with each other? I wanted to have my beat sheet, which I will talk about and show you guys in a little bit. And the outline we will also talk about in a little bit. This is obviously where I keep my mood board. It's just really nice to have front and center when you first open up the page. And it's just something really pretty to look at. Three things that I had straight away in here were my main characters, brainstorming, and then plotting and outlining. I really love character-driven stories, and I knew that this one was going to be very character-driven, so I knew this was something that I had to figure out first. And I knew it was going to be my main character, Petey, and Laurel. And these are not like the final looks. Actually, they don't really look like this at all, and Laurel's a brunette, but I wanted to understand who they were, what they look like, how they interact, and I did these two characters. They're the two characters where I have to know the most about them before I can keep moving through the rest of the story. So while I will eventually keep building out the rest of the characters, I wanted to start with these two first. The second thing that I knew was like a must was to have a brain dump area. I need a place where I can just throw ideas, characters, inspiration, how this world looks to me. So I have a brainstorming area where I just kind of dump everything. And then I also have my plotting and outlining. Now here is where I think things start to get a little interesting. So I have my Save the Cat beats here, just because I like to have those really handy. If I don't have the book with me, I can always remember where these things are supposed to happen. I should have it memorized by now, but believe it or not, I don't. Over here, I have kind of a rough outline. And so while I've typically done more detailed outlines, I usually have like a lot of bullet points as to what's supposed to happen in each chapter. For right now, I just have a sentence or two to kind of get me through what's supposed to happen. And it gives me enough room to understand what I need each chapter to accomplish while letting me play around with the scenes. While the actual detailed outline is not finished yet, I've got the first 3 chapters kind of set up. What I do have is my beat sheet, which I will show you. So a lot of the stuff that's in here, I also have migrated over into my Scrivener file. And I like to keep a few things in my Scrivener file to help me reference it pretty quickly. Number 1 is a list of all of my main characters. So I have Peter, I have Laurel, and then I have a few secondary owners over here, or secondary characters down here. I have a lot of the information that I took from the Notion dashboard and put it in here. And if I need to kind of expand on this, I can do it in here. But the beat sheet is really where I go through every single step of my Save the Cat process. This is where I really start outlining a lot of the story. This is like my general overview. You can see from here my act 1, what's my opening image, what's my who states the theme. And a lot of this is subject to change as the story goes on, obviously. And so this is also meant to be a little bit more fluid, but it's a really nice way to sort of plug in and understand where the gaps in your story exist. For instance, I know the general gist of what the end is supposed to look like, but I need to be a little bit more finite about that. And then the last thing that I would really recommend you doing is just do a 2 paragraph little summary of the story, a synopsis, a blurb, something that if someone asks you about the project, you can kind of say pretty easily, or just remind yourself of like, okay, this is kind of what I want it to look like. But this is kind of everything that I've done so far to help me prepare to jump into this story. It's not as intense because, again, this is really just meant to be a novella. This is really my process for like outlining and getting the story started, figuring out my main characters and what they need and how they move the story along. But if there's any piece of this that you guys want a little bit more in depth of, then please just let me know, and I'm happy to kind of go into this a little bit further. Hi guys, it's the next day. I am coming to you live with no makeup, so be nice to me. It is about 12 o'clock. I just inhaled a partially frozen Uncrustable. I actually ended up waking up at around like 7 this morning. I forgot I had like set my alarm. And instead of like sitting in bed, I decided to get up and actually write for a little bit. I hate how productive I actually am in the morning because I managed to get about 950 words for about a 45-minute sprint, which was awesome. So I already almost like doubled my word count for the day. I have my ADHD assessment today, like my official one, at 2 o'clock. I've done like the job application stuff that I wanted to get done today. I need to pack because I have a wedding this weekend that I am in, and I want to have all my stuff packed up and ready to go. We are staying in the city, so it's not too far. It's like a 30-minute drive, but because I need to be there early, like I'm driving in tomorrow and we're staying the night, and then Friday is the wedding. So I need to like be there for all of that, and but I still need to pack, and I think that shouldn't take me too long. So I think I'm actually going to just keep writing. I managed to get into like a really good groove with this chapter. I wrote about like 4 pages. The way that I'm starting this story is our main character is kind of going through the shitter. His life is really a mess. And I got to do this really fun like breakup scene where his girlfriend dumps him at a coffee shop. The last story that I wrote in first person from my female main character's perspective, and this story I knew I wanted to do, I think it's third person omniscient. I feel like it's just my comfort zone actually, and I get to write in a style that I really like, and I feel like it's a lot stronger. So not only did I get a really good writing session in, I was just really, really happy with the words I actually put down on the page. I got to see, I think, some of the growth that I've had as a writer, where I'm adding these little details to help these people feel very real and this relationship feel very lived in. And so very happy with that. But that's the update so far. I have been also editing this vlog as I've been going. Instead of writing yesterday for the whole day like I wanted, I ended up editing for about half of it, obviously filming everything that you've seen up until this point. But that's where I'm at. I think once my husband's done with his meetings, I'm gonna make some lunch and then do another writing session. Very excited with this project. I love where it's going. right, so I just finished another sprint and I didn't really get a lot of words in. I got about 200 words in for that 30-minute sprint, but I did go back and refine what I had already written this morning just a little bit. When I'm writing arguments, I feel like I need to go into it with a little bit more of a plan. Because I'm like, ooh, they should say this here, and ooh, they should say this here, and oh, I'm repeating myself here, but I'm trying to not get sucked into too much editing right now. I want to go ahead and end this vlog off here. It's been kind of a long one. If you've made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you so much, and if you want to go ahead and leave a pumpkin emoji to let me know that you made it all the way to the end of the video, that would be amazing. I'm really excited to take you guys on this like new writing journey. I feel like because this is going to be a slightly shorter project, being able to finish this up and then get to like revision process and actually be able to share some of my writing with you guys, I'm just really excited, and this already feels like something that's gonna be really special to me, and hopefully this video was fun to watch. If anything, I think it shows that writing is, as I have always said, such a personal process and experience, and if you are having mixed feelings about maybe putting your current work in progress on the shelf or taking a step back, maybe you get a little bit of, I don't know, help or insight or inspiration from my own journey with my projects and things like that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, if you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. I post new videos every Saturday at 10 a.m. As always, also leave a comment down below about what you're working on, where you're at with your projects, what are you struggling with, what have you found that's really helpful for you. But as always, thank you all so much for watching and for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!